The BBC has sparked a fresh bias row after it emerged the former executive hired to review its impartiality on social media has himself been highly biased against Brexiteers and the Prime Minister Boris Johnson online. This is completely outrageous. So Richard Sambrook, who is a former director of global news at the BBC, clearly a massive lefty, as they all are, he's been brought in to take an internal look at the way journalists use their social media accounts amid concerns they might be breaching its impartiality rules by sharing their political views, especially after that Emily Maitlis moment on Newsnight. But here's the issue. Richard Sambrook has done exactly the same thing. The Guido Fawkes website has uncovered a whole load of tweets that show he's anything but impartial. Richard Sambrook tweeted that Donald Trump and Boris Johnson are post-truth politicians. He shared a story by Carol Codwaller that added the words, "More Boris lies, now a man of zero integrity." He declared he strongly remain after the referendum and said that Britain is being led to an epic act of national self-harm over Brexit. How on earth, it goes on and on and on, by the way, how on earth is this man going to tell anyone at the BBC not to be biased on social media when that's exactly what he is? Let me bring in now the Conservative MP Andrew Bridgen, who has concerns over the Richard Sambrook appointment. I mean, Andrew, when you look at how biased Richard Sambrook has been against Boris Johnson and Brexiteers in particular, this just seems like yet another left-wing appointment by the BBC. He's not going to clean anything up, is he?
Well, it's actually worse than that, isn't it? Because this is licence fee payers' money being paid for a review of impartiality on their social media platforms, which isn't going to be worth anything, because before it's even started, given the credentials of Richard Sambrook and what he's tweeted out on social media, it's a complete waste of money, because the review, whatever it comes out with, will be discredited before it starts. Unless, of course, that's what the BBC want, that they're going to get the answer that there's no bias at all in any of their programming or any of their social media. Well, but I think your listeners know that's not quite the truth, is it?
Well, no, indeed. And it seems like he's completely on the same page as Emily Maitlis, who, of course, caused a lot of controversy after she said this on Newsnight, an apparently impartial programme.
He was the man, remember, who always got the public mood, who tagged the lazy label of elite on those who disagreed. He should understand that public mood now, one of fury, contempt and anguish. He made those who struggle to keep to the rules feel like fools, and has allowed many more to assume they can now flout them.
I mean, you just listen back to that clip, Andrew Bridgen, and it's totally outrageous that this took place on an apparently impartial news show.
Well, Dan, if you remember back to that episode of Newsnight, I actually was interviewed by Emily on that programme.
Yes, indeed.
And I'll share with your listeners that the BBC tried to drop me from the schedule at 9 o'clock, about an hour and a half before the programme was going out. And I, making the point of who else they'd be interviewing, and there wouldn't be any voice defending the government at all, I managed to get them to eventually put me on. But if you play the whole interview, I think there was a Conservative MP on there. There was an SNP MP and myself. Everyone else was attacking the government. Look how many times she interrupted me. I think 21 seconds I got into my answer before she interrupted. It was clear there was an agenda there. Had I not really pushed hard with the BBC, there wouldn't have been any voice at all to moderate the impartiality on that programme, which I think probably got the most complaints of any programme so far in history by the BBC for political bias, quite rightly too.
Indeed, it was a complete pile-on. I mean, Andrew, on the night, did you get any sense that Emily Maitlis realised that she may have overstepped the mark, or that she was going to do something quite unprecedented?
Well, I didn't speak with Emily until I went on air, but I spoke to her, the editor of Newsnight, and told him what I was intending to say. They, quite honestly, I gave them my views on the topic, and I was told by Newsnight that they'd never heard anybody express my views before. And my response to that was, well, you won't if you only hang around the Guardian tea room, won't you?
Indeed. I mean, it's just shocking. It's just appalling. I mean, what's so fascinating to me, is that Richard Sambrook was a highly paid executive within the BBC News operation for many, many years. Yet he feels it's appropriate to tweet that Brexit is utterly, utterly stupid and Brexit is like a Premier League side wanting to be relegated. Surely if he had any view that he was going to go back into journalism or back to the BBC, he shouldn't have been sharing these personal, incredibly left-wing anti-Brexit views.
Yeah, and clearly, if he has any integrity at all, he shouldn't need the BBC to remove him from this review. He should do it himself for the reputation, not only of his own reputation, but for the reputation of the BBC. And I say again, it'll be licensed fee payers' money that's going to pay for this review. What's the point of the review when you've got Richard Sambrook, who's so biased himself doing it? It'll have no credibility whatsoever, unless, of course, that's what the BBC top brass intend. And it's going to be nothing more than a whitewash, isn't it?
Well, I think it's exactly what they want. I think it's a fix, and I don't think he will remove himself. Would you call on the BBC to axe him from this role now and get someone in who is impartial? Because I guess we've got to give the benefit of the doubt to the executives who hired him. Maybe they weren't aware of these tweets. However, you would think you could do a very basic check in order to find them out. They're all there in the public domain.
Well, as we know from the BBC and Sky to an extent, that they often have independent experts on their programme that turn out to be left-wing activists, and they're certainly not what they're purporting to be. So they don't always appear to do the background checks. But I mean, it's all been widely publicised now what Richard Sambrook's views are, and he's clearly to any reasonable person, he's not impartial. And any review that he's involved in will be absolutely worthless. So they might as well not bother if they're going to use him. So they need to get rid and they need to get someone in who's going to be impartial.
Andrew Bridgen, Conservative MP, thank you so much for being here today.